Okay, is everybody ready? Ready, Billy? Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Virginia City Council meeting. This is a regularly scheduled City Council meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Today's date is Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. The time is 5:30 p.m. Pam, would you please take the roll call?
Baraboo,
Present.
Friedlieb,
Present.
Paulson,
Present.
Beyondich,
Present.
Johnson,
Here.
Baranzelli, Huffy.
Present. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 4 on the agenda, which is the public forum. This is a chance for anyone in the audience to come in before the council and address the council on any matter or issue they deem appropriate or important to them. There is nobody in the audience today that would like to speak, so we'll move to item number 5, the consent agenda. The following items will be enacted by one motion unless a councilor or a citizen of the City of Virginia requests that the item be considered separately. Item 5.1 is the approval and correction of the minutes of 5.1A, the regular meeting that was held on October 12th, 2021. 5.1B, the public hearing that was held on October 12th, 2021. 5.1C, the special meeting that was held on October 12th, 2021. And on item 5.1D, the special meeting that was held on October 18th, 2021. Item 5.2 is the adoption of Finance Resolution number 21-020, the schedule of bills. Item 5.3 is approve pay estimate number 6 to Casper Construction for the 2021 street improvement project in the amount of $574,387.94. Item 5.4 is approve the temporary liquor application for the Friends of the Greenhouse to hold a meeting and event on December 4th, 2021. Item 5.5 is approve the transient merchant's license for Robert Humphreys, doing business as Country Fresh Farms, to sell USDA frozen meats in a pop-up tent at Menards. And finally, item 5.6, approve the surplus sale items from the fire department. These are the consent agenda items before us today and looking for council action.
So move to approve the consent agenda as documented.
Councilor Freely moves to approve the consent agenda as documented. Is there support?
I'll support, Mayor.
Support by Councilor Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'll move to item 6, appearances. And there were no one is scheduled to appear before the council this evening. Move to item 7, unfinished business. 3 items under unfinished business. One is item 7.1, the 2022 budget. We're still working on that, and I think I would defer to Sherry. And once again, Sherry, welcome back to the council meeting. Anything you have for us in the near future with respect to the 2022 budget?
Not at any time yet, but working on it.
Okay, very good.
Hopefully we can cut some more.
Okay. So once you've accomplished your goal and objective, and you'd be ready to present to the council at a future committee of the whole meeting? Thank you. Item 7.2 is the sale of the hospital. Do we have any other information regarding the sale, any movement with respect to the issues relating to the 2 obstacles that we've had to overcome? Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. I think we're getting really close. I do have a conference call set Thursday at 10 o'clock to address the final issues with Mr. Modich and Mr. Christensen, who are counsel for the hospital, and I'm confident that after those calls, we'll have a final plan.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 7.3, which is, back to 7.2. Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. Mr. Lindsay, do you have a date when you think that would be available or ready?
I don't have a specific date, and the reason that we're struggling to find a date is because we need one final clearance from the state of Minnesota to release the bond encumbrance. And once that bond encumbrance is released, we're going to set it in very short order to close. We've got all of the balance of the documents are already with the closing company, and this is the final document that we're waiting for.
Is that something that's been hung up for a while now? Is that the final piece that we need? And how long have we been waiting for that?
That is the final piece that we need. That piece has been hanging out there for some time because one of the things that the resolution of that issue and the issuance of that release of the bond encumbrance required was an appraisal of the hospital property. And that appraisal was fairly difficult to get commissioned because there was nobody willing to step up and do it. We actually had to go to a specialty company from quite a ways out of the area to come in and actually do that appraisal.
Do we have a copy, or do we know what that appraisal was or came in at?
I don't have the number off the top of my head. The appraisal came back very low. In fact, it was close to, if not a negative number, because of the maintenance and issues that exist with that property.
Is that a document that we'd be able to see or have sent to us?
I do have a copy of it. I'll provide it to Britt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Any more questions, comments on item 7.2? Okay, thank you. Move to item 7.3, which is rental code ordinance. I know we're still working on that ordinance. Our staff is working on it as well. Britt, do you have any update, or John, any update on our rental code ordinance as we move forward? John?
Thank you, Mayor. There will be a few more comments coming from a couple planning commission members on that. So I'm just waiting for that.
Okay, thank you. And we're moving forward with that. Hopefully, we'll have that resolved soon and come before the council for consideration and adoption. Thank you, John. Okay, we'll move to item number 8, discussion items. Item number 8.1 is adopt the resolution to make application to and accept funds from the IRRB for the Mining Impact Fund.
I'll move the resolution.
Councilor Paulson moves to approve the resolution. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.2, adopt the resolution to make application for and accept funds from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety for the 2022 Total Zero Deaths Grant.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Could someone expound on this a little bit? That's a decent amount, $37,625, and when the application award would be recognized?
Yeah, this is something that's being monitored and accepted by the police department. It's an annual, they use these fundings for zero death investigations, some overtime costs, is that correct, Britt? And some other things with respect to certain types of traffic enforcement. Say, for example, the state of Minnesota decides that they're going to have a campaign for cell phone use and concentrate on that. And they'll use local law enforcement agencies through this grant to pay them above and beyond their normal duties and responsibilities to help certain hours, like 4-hour shifts, to accomplish that goal and objective as a whole statewide effort, and other departments are also involved.
Right, and I was just wondering when we would receive, knowing if we're going to be awarded that grant. And the only reason I was asking is I have a secondary possibility, and that's the only reason I was wanting that information. But I'm really happy. Is this something we've applied for and received in the past, isn't it? Yeah.
And an annual basis for quite some time.
Okay, and that's okay. I don't need to know, but if I could maybe get that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, committee reports. Item 9.1, the committee of the whole meeting that was held on October 19th, 2021. And we'll turn this portion of our city council meeting over to our city administrator, Britt C. Bennis. Britt?
Thank you. At the Committee of the Whole meeting on October 19th, Mr. Matt Reed, our City Engineer of Record from SCH Engineering, presented a professional services agreement for our city engineering services to act as our engineer of record for a 3-year contract. Their contract expires this December. It was moved and supported to approve the resolution to adopt the professional services agreement with SCH for city engineering services for a 3-year period.
I'll move the resolution.
Councilor Johnson moves to approve the resolution and is supported by Councilor O'Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Was moved and supported, Alec Peretz from State of Minnesota MnDOT came to our meeting and gave an update on the Highway 53 intersection concepts that they're looking at related to the school relocating into the Midway area. The state's looking at a couple different intersection safety, capacity, mobility plans. It was noted that there were 6 concepts that are provided. Not all of them were in Virginia. We did have a lot of discussion, and at this time, MnDOT has not made a decision on which one they're going to go with, and they have not decided how the costs are going to be split between the city and the state. Further discussion to be coming on that one. It was moved and supported to authorize staff to provide a complete lease agreement with Macro Lease and allow staff to complete a credit application in order to purchase the fitness equipment from Precor for approval at our council meeting tonight, and on your desk should be a hard copy, and it was emailed to everybody yesterday when we received it.
Thank you, Britt. So I'm sure there'll be questions and comments from the council with respect to item 9.1B. We'll start with Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move to approve the contract as stated and written.
Support.
Moved by Councilor Paulson and supported by Councilor Johnson to authorize staff to complete the lease agreement with Macro Lease and allow staff to complete the credit application to purchase the fitness equipment from Precor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Brian Silber was at the meeting to request the purchase of a forklift for use of the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. If we purchase this forklift now, it will not be delivered until after the first of the year. It was moved and supported to approve the low bid from Hyundai for the purchase of a forklift in the amount of $41,446.72 for the Iron Trail Motors Event Center for the 2022 budget.
Okay, thank you.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli to accept the low bid from Hyundai to purchase the forklift for the 2022 budget in the amount of $41,446.72. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. Sherry, is that money will be coming out of the budget for the new facility, or where will that be coming from?
That forklift, we actually budgeted $65,000, so we're saving some money already.
Okay, and that comes out of Park and Rec?
Yeah, Park and Rec.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Councilor Paulson.
Okay, thank you. At the committee level, we were told that it's coming out of the Iron Trail Motors Event Center budget, so it's not?
I believe you are correct. At the committee of the whole, there was a discussion about, if I may? There was a discussion about the request for the forklifts for the primary use to be at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center, with the potential of being used elsewhere in the city if necessary. And Brian Silber, our Park and Rec Director, had indicated that this would be a difficult task for them to be moving around back and forth. But the primary use of that forklift was going to be for the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. Sherry?
Mayor,
Yes.
Council, then I will confirm that it's put into the Iron Trail Motors Event Center budget.
Okay, so if there was funds earmarked, Sherry, in the Park and Rec budget, will those just shift over then to the
Correct.
Iron Trail Motors Event Center budget? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to approve the quotes that we had received for valve replacement and repair at the wastewater treatment plant from Iron Range Plumbing and Heating in the amount of $12,280.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Freely. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Beyondich. Any further discussion? A lot of traffic going through those pipes, huh?
There is, there is.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Brian Silber presented a memorandum of understanding and use agreement with Rockridge Public Schools for the use of city facilities, including the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. It was moved and supported to approve drafting a new contract with ISD 2909 and to mirror the rental fees from 2020 through 2021 contract that was with ISD 706 for the use of all city facilities, and to amend line items 8 regarding practices with coaches and item 6, game day passes, and to clearly list the fees that will be charged.
Thank you. Counselor Paulson?
I'll move to approve.
Counselor Paulson moves to approve. Is there support?
Support for discussion?
Support by Counselor Johnson for discussion. Further discussion, Counselor Johnson.
Clear, we're not agreeing to the agreement right now. We're just agreeing to have you,
Have to
or
work on an agreement.
to work on it.
Yep.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we have made contact with the school, and we're working on trying to correlate a date and time to meet.
Thank you.
And the golden objective here is a 1 year, correct?
Correct.
1 year contract. Thank you. Okay, moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So when you go back then to present this, will they come back, or if they agree, does it come back to the council for a one-time final approval at that point? Okay, thank you.
The conversation we've had so far was that we need to change the way we were calculating, so we need to talk to kind of run that past them, how we were going to calculate that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Matt Reed of SEH and John Sullivan, our Community Development Planner, have been working on a potential upgrade to our lift stations in the city. We have very old antiquated systems that run the computer systems that run the lift stations. And so they came up with an idea to set in a pre-application to CDBG to help assist with funding for that project to upgrade those computers at the lift stations. It was moved and supported to approve the resolution allowing the city to make application for CDBG funds for the City of Virginia Lift Station Improvement Project.
Also moved, Mayor.
Moved by Counselor Baraboo. Is there support? Support by Counselor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. John Sullivan presented information on a scope of work he had received from Kimberly Horn for potential development for housing concept planning. It was moved and supported to approve the scope of work for potential parcel development for housing concept planning with Kimberly Horn in the amount not to exceed $9,400.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Johnson and supported by
Support for discussion.
Counselor Freely for further discussion. Further discussion first from Counselor Freely, and then maybe a little information from our planning department, John Sullivan. Counselor Freely.
Just a quick reminder that we had talked about the potential for allowing adjacent property owners the opportunity to at least have an option to purchase if that fits into the plan for the city. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I do know that there's at least one resident in the area that had provided written request and interest in an adjacent property prior to the city going to the school district, but the school district had yet to have returned a response to that resident. So once that person heard that the city was pursuing these lots, was wondering if he's in line first or if he has to step back on behalf of the city. So in any event, I hope there's some due consideration given to residents who may have an interest in acquiring adjacent property for further development in that area that's going to be similarly to what the city would like to see happen.
Thank you. Anything, John, on that regard? Or I think I see we're approving the work for the scope of work for potential parcel developed for housing concept plan, and including that would be all options, including the issue that's been raised by Councilor Freely. John?
Correct, Mayor. On your desk in front of you, I I distributed a one-page map that outlines the school parcels, the remnant parcels in blue. And those will be part of the study that we'll be working on with Kimley Horn for future development. One thing to keep in mind is when we look at this, and this addresses Councilor Friedlieb's concerns, there are some adjacent parcels there along Rogerville Road and whatnot that are either city-owned or used to be with the railroad, and our city attorney is, working on all that to figure out, the ownership and all that kind of stuff and how that works. And when we work with Kimley Horn, I'd like to see some concepts that might integrate some of those pieces of property that we have, just to see how that would look. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Moved and supported. Further discussion. First, Councilor Paulson, and then over to Councilor Beyondich. Councilor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, John, for providing this map. So is this inclusive, John, the areas highlighted in blue? Is that all of the property that Kimberly Horn is being asked to consider?
These are the school remnant parcels that they're interested in potentially seeing us redevelop. That's
So
correct.
I'm looking at these as mostly parking lots, and when we had first talked about this at the committee level, I thought they were residential. I mean, I know it's a residential zone, but I thought they were actually like housing lots. So this is a little different than what I thought. And kind of looking at that, I don't know why we wouldn't maybe want to use our engineer of record, SEH, for what we've been doing in the past regarding property development. I know that the school owns these, but maybe unless they're conveyed to us, I'm not sure that we should be taking the step of paying $9,000 to figure out how to develop a parking lot areas. I guess that's just where I'm coming from, because I actually thought they were either 25-foot lots or 50 or maybe 35-foot lots when we had talked at the committee level. So now that I'm seeing this map, I'm a little bit more hesitant to go forward with spending the money when the property is owned by the school, and yet the city would be paying Kimberly Horn to develop a development plan. So I think that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. But I really appreciate you bringing the map forward, because it's definitely different than, it's nice to know where these properties are, so I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion. Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. And I think Councilor Paulson touched on where I was going with this also, is word of mouth. If we were conveyed the land and we did this, I'd have absolutely no problem. But we do not own this property, and I do not see a need for the city to be paying for a study to see how it could be developed. So as it sits right now, I don't think I could support this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Johnson.
Mayor, I look at this as an opportunity to work with the school to see if it's something we want or need. My concern would be we say, no, figure it out on your own, and they do nothing with it, and now we have 5 vacant lots that have weeds growing up through them and that kind of stuff, or they get bought by an individual, and now the individual can't do anything with them, and they're vacant lots that nothing can be done with. So I think investing the 9,000 some change to work with the school in real time to see what's going to happen there is beneficial to us, because there's still going to be a school there, and there's still going to be these outlots that are going to be there whether we work with them. So I think it's a good investment, as opposed to us being conveyed them in the future, and now we have to spend $25,000 or $30,000 on our own to figure it out. So I look at this as we're spending a little upfront to figure out what the plan's going to be in the future.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. And just one quick comment for myself. I like the concept of taking a look at what the potential housing is in that regard. I think our engineering looks at what the soil borings are, access to the connections to city services and those kind of things. But actually, housing concept plot based on that, I think is prudent. And I do I am like the idea of us looking at gravitating beyond the blue square, looking in the Roger Road area and incorporating that into the parts of the plan too as we move forward. So at this point, unless something if some issue comes that would change my mind, I think moving forward and getting a housing concept plan here, and we may have to do it in other areas of the city too, in order to determine, what residential, commercial properties can be available. We're landlocked, and so looking at these concepts, I think it's a prudent investment at this time. Councillor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what Councilor Johnson said, and I think it's important that we do take a look at this, but I just was on Kimley Horn's website, and they're an engineering consultant firm in St. Paul, Minnesota. Why couldn't we go through SEH, John or Britt? Isn't this something that we're already paying our engineer of record, that we could just tack on, say, look at these parcels and give us like what you and Matt did, the overview in parcels in Midway and throughout our vacant property parcels? Does it have to go through Kimley Horn?
No, Counselor, it does not. The school sat down with Britt and I and approached us to say, we'd be willing to, donate these parcels to the city if they wanted to develop them. And the consulting engineer for the school, who's most familiar with these properties, is definitely Kimley Horn, because they've been planning out all their future stuff for the new school and all that kind of stuff. So the thought was that they would assist us with that and make the decision, kind of meeting together to say which properties do they want to get rid of and how does that tie into the city properties that we own, this railroad stuff. That's why it's Kimley Horn. I get where you're coming from, but I think that tie-in and that communication and that working with the school would be better effective if Kimley Horn was doing this project.
So
That's why.
that's the reason that they
Yes.
were brought in, because they're kind of consulting on both sides.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Paulson. Thank you, John. Councillor Beyondich, and then over to Councillor Freely. Councillor Beyondich.
Thank you. Do we have a commitment from the school that this property would come to the city? Do we have any type of an agreement or anything in writing?
We do not at this time.
Thank you.
Councillor Freely.
I believe thank you, Mayor, contracted with Kimley Horn with regard to landscaping at the event center as well, the pass-through parks. So we've got a relationship with them that's been local and ongoing for a couple of years already. And I don't know that this is going to be exclusive only to these blue rectangles, because if I recall, there's a couple of lots right on 4th Street that have been abandoned, and there's properties that either we own or the school does. I think we own those properties, I'm not sure. And then I know there's there's a house for sale right now on the corner of 4th Avenue and 4th Street and 6th Avenue. So there may be other properties that become available in and around the school development that may become a part and parcel of this plan. And I think we're being proactive in at least reviewing what's going to be available, what in fact may become available, and then come up with a plan that's going to be, beneficial to that neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Freely. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Thank you.
Has not been moved and supported. Has it been?
Matt Reed is going to be heavily involved in this. We're kind of going to be part of a team, and Matt will be looking out for these adjacent parcels here and how that's going to work out on whether we're going to sell the existing stuff, and he's going to be working with myself and Brian Lindsay to try to figure out how this whole area will develop. So the school parcels are a little bit here's one, here's another. But if you look around here, there could be some serious redevelopment projects that we could do here. So Matt is definitely going to be involved in this project, working on our behalf, and I view it as a team approach. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Okay, it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bearable.
Yeah, I believe Kimberly and Horn has the best option for the city, because SCH, they don't have the design people and stuff up here for that type of stuff. They have to bring them up from Minneapolis anyway. So I believe Kimberly and Horn has a good background for this, so I'm going to be supportive of them.
Thank you, Counselor Bearable. Okay, it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Paulson,
Aye.
Beyondich,
No.
Johnson,
Aye.
Aaronzelli. Yes. Huffy,
Aye.
Baraboo,
Yes.
Friedlieb.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Britt?
Thank you. It was moved and supported to approve signage in the placement of signage in the pass-through parks on Chestnut Street as requested by the police department and to investigate installation of better lighting in both parks.
And I see you sent out an email earlier with respect to the park area adjacent to the Senior Citizen Center.
Yes.
Where lighting and additional signage is going to be installed.
Correct.
And camera.
Correct. It'll be very easy for city staff to get that placed.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Johnson. Is there support?
I'll support for further discussion. What,
Support by Counselor Freely. Further discussion, Counselor Freely.
thank you. What's the wordage of this? What are we putting in there? I don't even know, like certainly no
No
loitering.
sleeping, no loitering. No overnight sleeping, I think is what it says. No overnight stays in the park.
And lighting to light up that area which is dark, and the cameras to capture any criminal damage or any issues with respect to the park issue itself.
I mean, we did put the parks in place for not just pass through, but I mean, there is to socialize and to sit. So I mean, there's going to have to be some consideration in terms of what's socializing versus loitering, and just give due consideration to the clientele that's utilizing those for their purposes. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to approve the recommended wage from AFSCME for the administrative assistant 2 position for the police department at the wage of $29.97 per hour.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Counselor Paulson moves to approve. Is there support? Support by Counselor Barnzelli. Further discussion? I do, just quickly. With all due respect, I'm sure the administrative 2 position with respect to the job description, laying out what the duties and responsibilities are, and $29.97 per hour as a starting wage for that assistant 2 is, generous in my perspective. And I looked at it as a comparison as where does a police officer start working as? And so it's less than this. So that's concerning to me. I don't understand that there's a difference, with comparable worth and how you make the comparisons in job description and duties and how those map out with pay equity and all those kind of things. I get that. I understand. I've been involved in that. But just I want to make a point of record that $29.97 an hour starting wage for a police officer is less than that. So that's all I have to say. So it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to authorize the immediate internal posting as required by AFSCME for 7 days for the administrative assistant 2 position, and then authorize the external posting after the 7-day internal posting period.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Counselor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Brian Silber, Park and Recreation Director, discussed a creation of a new monthly fee for open skating at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. It was moved and supported to approve the open skating monthly fee at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center with the individual fee of $10 per person and a family fee of $25 per person per month.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Freelieb. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Johnson. Further discussion? This is a tangent question that I have. It doesn't relate specifically to this motion, but I was just looking for, if we could, Britt, if you could have your staff take a look at the ice time as we look at it down the road here. I have received some calls from people who would like to book these birthday parties in these bumper cars, and they can't find the ice time for it. So I think that's something for us to take a look at in the future. I know that you're looking into it, but just a reminder for all of us in the general public that we are looking for a resolution to that. So thank you. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bearable.
Britt, the way you stated that it was $25 per family, even if they had 10 members, right?
Correct.
Okay, just so we make that clear, because you said each.
$25 per family per month.
Okay.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. I thought there was more coming there. It's a
Oh,
moved.
just to make sure that the family membership was just one fee.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to approve the travel request for Fire Chief Alan Lewis to attend the World Extreme Medicine Conference in Edinburgh, Scotland, November 12th through the 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Freely. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Further discussion? Chief Lewis received a WISH grant, and he's using that as an educational opportunity to seek career enhancement. He's also presenting at this conference as well. He's using his vacation, his personal time, and all the costs associated that are paid through his grant. So,
Not using vacation
except
or
for,
personal time.
I'm sorry?
He is not using vacation or personal time. He will be on duty as per the motion.
Okay, moved and supported. Further discussion, Councilor Johnson.
I'm just really concerned that this was all done on his grant and on his personal time, and before he's leaving, he's asking us to keep him on the clock. And I'm just really concerned about other folks in the city utilizing their vacations as personal time to learn more about whatever they're going to be doing, whether it's an employee of Parks and Rec that works on the golf course and they go golfing for a weekend and they want that to be learning time. I'm very concerned about it being overseas. We've never had overseas. I've worked for the state of Minnesota in my real job, and there's some really strict rules about how you can utilize overseas travel on as an employee. So I'm not supportive of this still. I think Chief Lewis should go. I think he'll do phenomenal there. I'm hoping he learns some stuff and he can bring that back. But I don't think he should be doing it as an employee of the city under our workman's comp and our insurance and that kind of stuff. So yes, he should go, but I don't think he should be employed when he goes. I think he should be going as a private citizen.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. So I would like a clarification then on this, Britt. I must have misunderstood with respect to that, but in my conversations, it was my understanding that he was taking time off for this. It's not the case?
Now, if he was going on vacation, he wouldn't need to put a travel request in. He would just take vacation.
Right. So I thought that was going to be amended.
No, he has not pulled that travel request.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. First, Councilor Paulson, then over to Councilor Bearable. Councilor Paulson?
Thank you. Is Chief Lewis receiving, I thought he was receiving 18 credits towards what type of?
Paramedic licensure?
So he's technically receiving educational credits, although the Bush Scholarship gave him the funding to leave the country to go to attend this World Extreme Medicine Conference in Edinburgh, Scotland. And the expense to the city is $171 for meals, and then he will be on the clock for a total of 4 days, earning 18 credits towards his paramedic license. And that is very typical, regardless if it's in-state or out-of-state or now out-of-country. that we would normally pay for any employee on the clock to receive any continuing education credits. Is that not correct? Okay, so I'd like to just point that out, that the city has always paid for work, for the employee to, as a work time, to obtain any education credits going forward. And a lot of times it's meals and hotels. This is only meals at in the amount of $171. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Paulson. Anyone else? Counselor Bearable?
Yeah, I was going the same direction as Counselor Paulson went, because we send other employees around the United States for their education credits, and it's been a lot more expensive than this one because it's required for their licensure and their upkeep of whatever licenses they may have. So I'm okay with this. So, okay, I don't think we can discriminate at all because we do send police officers, we send other firefighters, we send our building code officials to keep up their licensure. So, and he has to keep up his paramedic licensure. So I'm okay with this.
Thank you, Counselor Bearable. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
A roll call, please, Pam.
Beyondich,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Aaronzelli. Huffy,
Aye.
Baraboo,
Yes.
Friedlieb,
Aye.
Paulson.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Britt?
Thank you. It was moved and supported to approve the resolution for the city to act as fiscal agent for the Brownfield Community Grant that we'll be submitting this year.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Freely. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion?
And Mayor, just for clarification,
Sure.
actually, we will not be the applicant. It'll be the city of Ely. We will just be one part of the grant application.
Right, we'll be the fiscal agent again, once again, for the
Correct.
brownfield study.
Correct.
The grant application being forwarded for Ely.
Correct.
Very good, thank you. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Mesaba Range College for reporting of crimes at the campus.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Johnson. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Paulson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. John Sullivan discussed a request he had received from a resident to purchase city property adjacent to a parcel on Southside, parcel 9060-2330. It was moved and supported to review the request for purchase of land adjacent to that parcel and to submit it to the Street and Alley Committee for further discussion when the Community Development Office is ready to talk about that item.
Okay, thank you.
It was moved and supported to approve the hiring of Kraus Anderson as a construction manager at risk for the Virginia Public Safety Center project.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Johnson. Is there support?
I'll support, Mayor.
Support by Counselor Baraboo. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
It was moved and supported to set a follow-up council meeting for Thursday, October 28th at 8 a.m. regarding building design for the Virginia Public Safety Center.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Johnson, supported by Counselor Barnzelli. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to direct Brian Silver, Park and Recreation Director, to address the scheduled hours at city parks and make a recommendation back and refer back to Parks and Recreation Commission for review. This is actually an ordinance we would need to have them look at.
We'll move that we have them look at it.
Okay, Councilor Johnson moves to direct Park and Rec Director Brian Silver to address the scheduled hours of City Park and along with the Park and Rec Commission for review. Is there support?
Support for,
Support by Councilor Freely for further discussion. Councilor Freely.
no, thank you, Mayor. This is separate from the discussion at the arena with regard to trying to free up time for birthday parties and utilization of other equipment.
Yeah, this is just the hours of for the park,
Parks
right?
exclusive.
Outdoor parks, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we talking about like setting time limits and that kind of thing, or closing the gates? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Over time, it's been open and closed, open and closed, open and closed. I think part of this review would be bringing in the police department to look at the actual calls for service, which I've looked into, and so that's a really consideration as one component of the, as the Park and Rec and reviews and takes a look at this and brings it back to us for a recommendation.
And an important note, Mayor, that is one component, because there was a request
Right.
recently asking if they had a dance in the park, how late could they play music? And we don't have an ordinance that says
Right.
how late you can play music in the park. So it's just a good discussion to have. Again, look at the ordinance, take a brief look at it and see if there's something we need to do.
Yeah, the only thing that happens is that there's a noise ordinance past 10 o'clock, but that's if it's hurting somebody else. So yes, we have to look at that, and like I indicated, that's just one component, correct. Thank you, Britt. Councilor Freely?
Just an aside to this, like when my boys were little, I mean, the city used to set up a really kind of almost Bentleyville-like display in the park, and we would ride through it at night and enjoy that. And I don't know where that ever went or if it's ever coming back, but I would suggest consideration and thought with regard to that, particularly FYI.
And there is a group up that is going to be coming to the council here sometime soon, maybe go through Revive Virginia, about acquiring some updated technology in order to provide that same experience for the kids in the future. So thank you for that, Councilor Freely. Councilor Bearable?
Mayor, thank you very much on this. I was going to go the same direction you were with to make sure we got individual studies out of the police department of how many things have gone on up there. They've had been called out for issues that they've had. I don't believe it's very many from what I know and heard. But I don't want to go through this open, close, and open, close. We opened up that park. It's a public park. The rest of them are open. Southside's open. Midway's open. Any place there. All the other ones are open. They're not closed. You know, we worry about damage to the fountain, but I don't know if we got the cameras up yet, but I think we do. And we got the signs up about cameras now. I'll be dead set against it if we start to close up there. I've been there all the time that they open, close, and it cost us a lot of overtime doing that. So I'm against that because there's call-out time and it was a minimum, I believe, of 2 hours when they did that. So I don't want to see that raise its ugly head again. Just run the police through there a few more times with their vehicles.
Thank you, Councilor Bearable. I think the goal and objective is to just get an idea if this is a good idea, and then maybe look at, like you had indicated, but establishing an ordinance with respect to that noise and the hours of operation, and if there's activities that goes beyond 10 o'clock, do we have to have an ordinance in that regard? So I think it's prudent for Park and Rec to look at that through the commission as well and bring it back to us for consideration. So thank you. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion?
You.
Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. Just something quick. And I think it would be helpful if this came about because of disruptions or disturbances in the park, that we invite maybe our police to come in and talk to us and let us know what is happening that has prompted this to come back to us, because I think that's an important part of it as well. So thank you.
I think that would be all part of that discussion moving forward, and including the police department and public safety in those discussions with Park and Rec. Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this up because on my ride-alongs, it's been mentioned several times on the overnights that if there is somebody, let's say, laying down in the park at 2 o'clock in the morning, the police have no ability to ask them why they're there, because the park is open. So if, my understanding of what was explained to me, if there was a close just posted, we don't have to do any kind of sign or any kind of gates or anything. The park is closed from midnight to 5 a.m. If someone's in the park laying down, the police now have the ability to stop and ask them, do they need help? Do they need a ride? Do they need something? As opposed to just, it's not because of anything negative happening or any of that. It just allows, from what I understand of what I was explained to me, it allows them to be able to engage on a respectful, legal something to help keep the folks safe as well as the park. So that's all it is, and having that discussion. My understanding is right now, it's just like if someone was standing on the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't just stop and ask them what they're doing because it's a public street. But if the park were closed, they could engage them and see if they needed assistance. So that's why I brought it forward, and it would cover all the parks. It would provide for just one more tool for the officers to utilize to help keep the community safe and maybe provide some assistance.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Johnson. Has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion?
Brian, I don't believe that's true. They have an ability for loitering and other things to move those people along. You don't have to leave them there. Is that not correct? It's our property, not individuals that's there. So I believe they can move them along if they so choose to do. I think they just don't want to bother with it. That's my personal opinion, because there's laws that you can move people. If they're sleeping on my lawn, I can sure as heck move them. You know, I can call the police and have them moved. This is a touchy situation, but I believe there's tools that we can use as a city to move individuals if they're in the park at a certain time of night and they're just laying there sleeping or whatever.
Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Counselor, I think your point is well taken. Truly, law enforcement can have contact with anybody anytime they wish. However, having an ordinance that's in effect that prompts or where officers who are out patrolling in the parks have a clear understanding that this is when parks are open, this is when parks are closed, it changes the nature of that stop or that contact just a little bit, and it does some additional things as far as what we call Terry stops in the legal, in the criminal law, and basically what sorts of contacts that they can have with those folks from an evidentiary standpoint.
I don't believe they close down the fountain at night. They leave it lit and going, and people like to see it in the dark. So that's another issue why I don't want to see it closed. You know, in the correct climate and stuff. Now as it gets colder, that's a different story where it can freeze. But I know there's cars that go through there at night looking at it in the dark.
I think, you know, we're just having, take a look at it, bring some recommendations moving forward, include all these questions that we have, and so we can vet it out maybe at the one of the committee home meetings moving forward. From my perspective, as Brian says, not to belabor this a lot longer, but a Terry stop and their law enforcement is a stop and frisk. If you have a place that's closed, it gives the police officers authority to stop and investigate or do some minimal investigation or frisk that person. So, but for me, the question is this, is that, you know, if it's a safety issue, let's get somebody to address it for us. Let's take a look at if these hours are adequate to do, how effective they are, how can they be enforced when you have an enclosed environment at the Alcott Park, an open environment at Southside Park, an open environment on the other parks all over the city. So how do you regulate that, number one? And it's an ordinance issue moving forward to determine what we want to do. But from my perspective is that whether you're in the park, or whether you're on Chestnut Street, or whether you're, you know, any place else in the city other than private property, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, as long as you're not causing any trouble. So if the goal and objective is to restrict people from going in there because you think something's going to happen, or you think that because they're in there, they're there for nefarious reasons, then maybe you have some probable cause or reasonable suspicion to investigate and to confront. Well, that's not what police officers do. They don't investigate and confront. If there's a call in there, whether the gates are open or the gates are closed, they still go up there to investigate. So this only would give the police officer the authority when it's closed to kick people out of there because this park is closed, you can't be in here. Still, even under those circumstances, asking a person for the name and address and phone number, because it's not a criminal violation, it's a petty misdemeanor deal. So, how far does that go? So I think by getting the police department involved, getting, Park and Rec Commission involved, and making a recommendation, and I think that's gonna have to come back to the public too. Do you want it open or closed? So I think the goal and objective of this directive is to bring all that information back to us for consideration. And so I think it's reasonable for us to do that. But it has been moved and supported. Further discussion, Councilor Bearable.
The reason I'm so adamant against this, we just had a huge community thing done to get that fountain. We had, what, $750,000 or more that was generated by the public. Why should they be restricted if they want to go in there any time of the day or night? That's not fair to the public that put all that money into that park and that fountain. That's my point. I don't want to see it go back to the restriction again. I've driven through there late at night just to see it, when the fountain's been on in the summer months. I see it's closed. I think it's closed down now because I haven't seen it on in the last few days because of the frost coming down. So that's just my personal opinion. Whatever the council, I wasn't fighting the police and the rest of you getting together to look at this issue. I'm not fighting that. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Should stay open.
Thank you, Councilor Bearable. We'll just gather the information and see what the staff brings back to us to take a look at, and we can vet that out then. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Paulson.
Mayor. So the motion is to direct Brian Silber, our Park and Rec Director, to address the scheduled hours at the city parks and refer to the Park and Recreation Commission for review. Do we want the initial action to come to the council first so we can bring in Deputy Chief Nicola prior to that, or is the motion sufficient? Do we want the conversation to start here at this body, or do we want the conversation to start with the Park and Recreation Commission? I just wanted clarification on that.
My view is that we refer to have a direct Brian Silber to talk to Park and Rec about that. They can bring in the police department, and they know they can, because they're on the commission, they make recommendations to us. They can vet that out. The police department can give all the information that they need, and they can determine whether or not an orange has to be done, or it has to be a directive to close the park at 11 o'clock or leave it open. So I think if, from my perspective, unless other councils would like something different, I think the motion that's on the floor and supported would suffice from my perspective. Any other questions or comments from the elected body here? Councilor Johnson?
I would agree, Mayor. I think that the commission can pull in, that they can do the groundwork for us, and then it can come to us with that support work, or one way or the other. Thank you.
Is that
Yeah, I was just asking for clarification on the motion, so yeah, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Paulson. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion.
I'm a no.
Okay, roll call, please, Pam.
Johnson,
Aye.
Sally. Yes. Huffy,
Aye.
Baraboo, Friedlieb,
Aye.
Paulson,
Aye.
Beyondich.
A motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Red?
No further items from that meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to item 10 on the agenda, which is the commission liaison reports. You do have in your packet of information an email that came from city staff with respect to the steam conversion data about what's left to be done. And so you've had a chance to take a look at that, I hope. But any commission liaison reports? Councilor Bearable?
That actually came from me, and they printed it for the council. I got that at the commission meeting yesterday, and I decided to hand it out to the whole council so they could see where the conversions are and what it is. But I'll give you the report on the rest of the committee. The safety committee, they had 1 day lost time from a broken wrench that broke, and a guy, one of the workers got his arm bruised pretty bad, and he had to take a day off because it was really sore. The steam conversion update, there's still some issues with individuals who talked to contractors a year ago, never got back to the contractors. Now they're scrambling to get back to them, and the contractors have booked other people now. So there's a delay in people getting conversions, and they're shutting down the steam as of Monday. So they'll have to make some exceptions. I don't know how they're going to do that, but they'll make some exceptions like they did on South Side. They have the Highway 53 bridge water leak fixed, and they'll be checking those every year now, because it seems like the bolts on the seals on the joints work themselves loose, but it's fixed. So we don't have to worry about that for this winter. Package boiler is in, but it's not done. Next week, the electrical work will be done on it. This is that smaller boiler when we get all the conversions done. But they're still going to be waiting for stainless steel parts to hook up to the other lines and stuff, and they don't want to activate the new boiler without having fresh water and fresh treated water into that system. But those parts don't look like they're going to be here till December because of the chain shortages of parts. They're having parts with not just there, but with other parts. They had to go out and look at another utility for some parts that they didn't have and they couldn't get from a manufacturer, and they found it at another utility that's in their Minnesota public utility group. This includes the new substation for the public safety center. If you notice, there's just a slab there. Right now, they're having trouble getting parts for this new substation at the public safety park to get that done. So that's going to be delayed. They're running 42 kilowatts per hour on number 10 boiler. They need to fix some grates on the number 7 coal boiler. So they've kind of deteriorated over time. They got to replace them. So that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Baraboo. Any other commission liaison reports? Councilor Johnson.
Actually, Mayor, I have a couple of questions. I don't know if Councilor Baraboo can answer them or not, but it says, customer does not appear to be acting as of the 25th, 19, beginning the process or progressing of self-install 16, contractor engaged 52. What does contractor engaged mean?
I can't give you a good answer, and then we'll have to talk to Greg French at the utility. All he told me is that the contracts were contacted when I was at the meeting. Some of these individuals a year ago, they made contact with the contractors, and then they come back now a year later and want them to get it done quickly, but they've engaged in other work with other people, so they don't have them on the schedule right now. So I don't know how to answer that other than that was what was told at the commission meeting.
Is that something that the staff could get some definition on? Because the way I'm reading this is right now there are 87 north side customers and 106 south side customers that haven't told the utility that either yes, they've gone to an alternative source or just haven't done anything.
There's some of that, yes, Steve. There is some of that they've done everything. They've gone to them to the house, they've gone to them by letter, they've gone by phone calls. So they don't have a handle on everybody yet. That is true.
I am also concerned. I know people on north side who have been waiting for 2.5 years and they're still not complete, and the steam gets shut off Monday and their houses are in disarray because the contractors are spending 3 hours at this house and they're going to another house and spending 3 hours, and our staff is doing an amazing job of trying to schedule these the tests and stuff, and they're getting a call in the morning going, you need to come today. And both of our staff in that department are already booked for the day because of this. So again, it just comes to my concern about what the backup is when on November 1st. And I know last year they waited a couple of days and there was some muddy when it actually got shut off. But I just want to voice that concern that, again, we're through no fault of a lot of people of their own, they're not going to have heat other than space heaters and electric blankets on Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. So if we could get some clarification from Mr. French and the utility on what the numbers really mean about who's not going to have heat next week and what the utility is doing to ensure the safety of those folks, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Baraboo, retort?
Oh, no, I'm not going to retort on that, but I can give you an example. I've been trying to put in a generator system in my home. So when the electricity goes out, I got an automatic generator. I started in early April. It just now got done because of the chain problems. So it just got done. That's 6 months before they could get some parts and stuff. So that's an example of what's happening. And I believe these contractors, from talking to the electrical contractors that did my home, they're having trouble getting parts also. So it's just not here. Cars are the same thing. It's nuts out there. So and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I'd like to just make a quick comment. These are citizens of Virginia. Maybe through their own fault or through no fault of their own, they haven't converted for whatever reason. But still, they are residents of the city of Virginia. I think we have a responsibility, a humane responsibility, to try to do whatever they can to help accommodate them the best we can to get them to convert. Because there's a variety of reasons why they don't. Maybe they should have done it a long time ago, whatever the case may be. But we can't, have a family or an elderly couple or live in an environment where we've shut off their heat for their ability to stay in their home. So I think getting some information from our public utilities as requested is very important moving forward. And so we hopefully will have some information about that. I really believe that the Department of Public Utilities would make some reasonable ways in which to try to help these people maintain some heat for the short term until such time something can be done to help accommodate them. So it's just a humane thing for us to do. And so regardless of what the circumstances are, whether they've completely ignored it or they don't have the funds to do it, or well, for whatever reason, I think we need to find out what that is, and getting that information from the utility would be prudent. Councillor Beyondich.
Thank you. I'm just moving on to my report, if that's
Oh,
okay.
Okay, hang on. We'll hang on to that
Okay,
thought.
thank you.
Councillor Baraboo?
Yeah, I've sat in at every one of these commission meetings over the last number of years since I've been liaison, except for one. Not to badmouth the utilities, they've gone out of their way to make sure they've contacted people by registered letter, they've gone door to door to these people, they've gone to phone, they've hit them at least 5 times during this time to make sure they get their stuff done. And they gave them over 2 years up on north side. They actually had 3 years to start lining up, and there's free, basically, loans out there. You're not charging any interest on these loans, absolutely none. You just got to do the work, and they'll even go up and help them with the work. So you can't totally blame utilities on this, Larry. You're not, I know, but
I am not blaming the utilities in any way, shape, or form.
no, because they have gone out of their way. They've even sent people to these houses. Some of these are absentees that aren't in the homes. They don't know what they're doing with them, whether they're winterizing them or what they're doing. They can't get a hold of them. They don't know who owns them and how to get a hold of them. That's part of the problem. So some of those numbers are those in here where people aren't actually in the homes. So if they winterize them and they're starting to find out who they are and they're finding out if they're winterized. And some of these are winterized already. You can see it, I believe, down on the bottom there. The green is the ones that are not going to convert because they're winterized. So, but they don't know if there's any more at this point. So I just want to tell you that utilities has gone out of their way to do and find these individuals. Now, they didn't totally shut off Southside either when they did this. They shut off blocks that were done, okay? I would guess they're probably going to do the same thing on North Side. Blocks that are done, they'll shut them off and leave the other ones going for time being until either get the contractors in there or not. So they've been working with the people. They got a whole list of contractors that people can use too. So just want to clarify that I think they're doing a good job from sitting in those meetings.
Yeah, I don't think everybody's questioning that. I think we're just, there's a human factor there too. Councilor Friedlieb.
Yeah, I'll just weigh in briefly because it's still kind of a fishbone stuck in my throat with regard to this whole process and the way it unfolded. And I don't deny that the public utilities have done their due diligence in, informing the residents repeatedly to get moving. But in as much time as those residents have had time to act, so has the public utilities had the time to act to not necessarily turn the valve off at the beginning of a winter season. And I suggested that they potentially flip-flop that to turn it off in April, which would give 3, 4, 5 months for people to continue getting this accomplished without the fear of potentially freezing in their house over the course of the winter. And then there are some anecdotal incidents that have occurred. For example, like last year on 6th Avenue and around 4th Street, there was a water break and it ended up flooding the basement of the adjacent property. Somebody who had just spent in excess of $20,000 to get their new furnace put in and their duct system and their gas run into the home, and is currently still in potential litigation to try and get that remedied. And so that house is going to be not heated at this point in time because that hasn't been accomplished yet. And then I'm still confused too, and maybe it's just me, but I don't understand why we still have these 55-gallon barrel chimneys throughout town that say hot on them with steam pouring out of them. It's like, if these are things that needed to be addressed and attended to and repaired, I'm not sure why they haven't been over the course of what seems to be months, if not years, that those continue to be there outside of people's properties. So there are questions that I have that maybe they're not all going to be answered tonight or ever for that matter. But and in regard to this project in its entirety, the reality was, it was like, if I recall, and whether it's accurate or not, it was like we as residents of the city of Virginia were informed that the valves were going to be turned off in this city and you're going to have to convert to gas. And I guess, were we given any other opportunities for discussion or other options that may have been availed to the residents of the city with regard to how else we can go about this process or project, besides how it was done? Because it frustrated a lot of people, and you can see there's still people scrambling to get it done for whatever reason. So enough said. I'm just concerned about, like you are, and you mentioned, that there are people in town that may have sat on it and didn't act appropriately, but there's a lot of people that did and are still going to be struggling to get this accomplished before the valves are turned off and the winter gets cold. So I have those concerns as well.
Yeah, thank you. So let's get some information if we can, if we reach out to the Public Utilities of Britain, see if we can, get a little bit more clarification related to Councilor Johnson's question on the context and things of that nature. So thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, any other commission liaison reports? You're on, Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. And I was going to call Jody up, but I think I can do this really quick. Okay, so the library has been busy, and there are a lot of events coming up for young and old. So this Friday, from 10:30 to 11:30, there's a Take and Make It for kids. So that should be a fun. Well, you know what? Come on up. Come on up. I'm going to have you just do the quick report.
Jody, and if you just
Jody.
turn the
You're
light on there. Thank you, Jody. Welcome. Jody, our library director.
Yeah, so we do have an update about the take and make. It is actually, if you come into the library now, there is a table set up for the Halloween take and make, and you can come and get the parts that you want to do. You can make a spider, there's some coloring sheets and some other cool things. So we do have story time on Friday, so that's been, we have one this week and then we have one next week. So those are coming down the pike. Let's see. So those are for the young. We are also for any age, we have Tom Matson will be at the library at 6 o'clock on November 16th. It is National Writing Month in November, and so watch for posts on Instagram and Facebook to find out how you can be involved in that. We've got writing prompts and things like that, so it's a month-long thing. And as you come into the library, there'll be some information that you can take home with you, that you can participate in. So that's a national thing that happens every year. We will be doing parts of Festival of Trees. We will have a story time, hopefully outside and doing things in the snow, but who knows? It's Minnesota and it's November. We'll have to see how that goes. And then we will have a web space telescope event, Light and Color, in the library auditorium on the Saturday during Festival of Trees on November 20th. And so, yeah, people have been very busy getting ready for story time and various different programmings, and of course, everything seems to change week to week. So that is where we're at. If you have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And yes, we got a new copier last week. You can copy from your device and print from your device. We're still working out the kinks, but yes, it is mostly working. We had our first library person use it today, and it was successful.
Thank you, Jody. Anything else? Did she say it all?
She covered it all. She is great. Thank you.
Jody, thank you very much for your great work at the library. What a lot of compliments from families, particularly in my neighborhood. The kids just love coming there. So
Great. And if you have any questions about the events, please give us a call. We know that things change, whether it's going to be inside or outdoors. So just give us a call and we'll tell you what's happening that week.
And your telephone number is?
218-748-7525. And yes, it is October. You do have to dial all of the digits.
7525.
Yes.
Thank you, Jody, very much. Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Anything else? Okay. Any other commission liaison reports from the council? Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 11, department head reports. Any department head like to give a report moving forward? I know I signed some documents today on a variety of topics, but anything from you, John? Ed, Britt, anything? Sherry, welcome back. And nothing? And Pam? No. Okay, we're good to go. Brian? No report. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to item 12, council reports. Does any councilor have a report they'd like to give this evening? Moving right along, I just have one not an announcement, just a small report that yesterday a group of us from staff and citizens from the city of Virginia took a bus tour down to the Minnetonka Public Safety Building and to the Richfield Public Safety Building to take a look at the two projects that our architect worked on with Carl Sanderson on one project for the new public safety facilities. One was a remodel and expansion, and the other was a remodel and expansion of both police and fire. And Mayor Wearsome from Brad from Minnetonka was very accommodating. We got a great tour from both them and from Richfield PD, and our staff gleaned a lot of information from that. So Chief Lewis was on the tour with Chad Nicola, the Assistant Chief of Virginia, Joe Bronick, a lieutenant from the Virginia Police Department representing patrol, John Sullivan, of course, and Mr. Tuttle, who's on the Friends of Public Safety, and Mr. and Mrs. Lucarelli, who are also on the Friends of Public Safety, and myself, along with the bus driver, had a really nice trip down there and back. So we gleaned a lot of information. I think you'll get a report from John and from our staff, maybe at the next committee of the whole meeting, about how that went moving forward. And I know we have a meeting on Thursday with Wold and I don't know who else is going to be involved in that, with regarding this, moving forward with this public safety building. So I thank the Lucarellis and Mr. Tuttle for taking the time to ride along, and then they had a lot of questions and comments, and they'll be referring those to us, the chiefs as well, at the next public safety meeting, what's coming up on one of the Mondays here. So thank you very much. Councilor Beyondich, anything?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So, nothing else to come before the council meeting today. We will adjourn to our next council meeting, which will be November 9th, 2021 at 5:30 PM in the city council chambers. And let's hope we still don't have snow. We stand adjourned.